Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Your Life, My Future, a segment where young people sit down and interview members of Congress to discuss the importance of legislation or policy that supports, invests, or advocates for improving young people's quality of life. My name is Lena Rodriguez. I'm the founder and executive director of Revolution Coalition, a nationwide student-run environmental justice collective based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. For this month's Youth Action Hour, we are sitting down with Congressman Chuy Garcia from the 4th District of Illinois to discuss his latest legislation, the Connecting Youth to Jobs Act, and why it's important to support and discuss a national youth subsidized job program. So let's kick off this conversation by defining some terms. Last month, you introduced legislation to invest in youth jobs across the country by proposing a national youth subsidized jobs program. For young people first hearing about this, could you briefly describe what is a national youth subsidized job program and what specific benefits does your legislation support?
Thank you. Great question, and it's great meeting you, Lena. There are several proposals out there for subsidized jobs programs, and that's a good thing. We want lots of people to care about this issue, but we also want to see it done right with a focus on longer term economic justice and conditions that make getting and keeping a job possible. That's why I introduced the bill this spring called the Connecting Youth to Jobs Act. Now, this bill creates a jobs guarantee. It guarantees living wage employment opportunities for young people who face barriers to employment between the ages of 14 and 24, especially youth that are out of school and out of work. And we define youth with barriers to employment broadly so that it includes youth of color, out of school youth, low income youth, youth impacted by the criminal justice system, foster youth, and youth experiencing homelessness. And our bill goes further. It also addresses the circumstances that make it possible to get and keep a job by providing critical wraparound services. That is one of the most important features of this legislation. It seeks to be supportive so that youth can be successful in getting a job, but as importantly, and perhaps even more so, keeping their job so that they are successful and can continue their studies, they can continue their work or their career paths.
That is absolutely amazing. For those who may not know, could you share what are examples of wraparound supports?
Sure. As I said, these are services that help make it possible not only to get, but to keep a job. Things like childcare, transportation, technology, mental health care, and even nutrition. Many of us may take it for granted that most young people have these things. The truth is that many do not. And that was something that came up during the several conversations that we hosted with young people themselves to gather the thoughts about which provisions they would most like to see in the jobs bill. So it wasn't like a bunch of older people sitting down asking, how do we help young people? We went to young people themselves. We kept it real. We kept it grounded. And the bill reflects this input. And they emphasize that it takes a lot to keep a job. Workers need transportation. They might need specific types of clothes, a phone, or a laptop, and not all youth have these things. So if we want to keep young workers in the job market and we want them to succeed, we've got to get them the right resources for success. And that's why the Connecting Youth to Jobs Act includes $10 billion in grant money for organizations to provide those wraparound services for young people. And these organizations would know young people and their needs and be there to support them.
On that note, many young people look around their communities and they can't find good paying jobs or can't access good paying jobs. How would this legislation support young people who want to stay and work in their own local communities?
That's a great question, Lena. It's really crucial for young people to get opportunities to stay in their communities and work in their communities. As someone who has been working in my neighborhood most of my life, most of my jobs have been in or very close to my neighborhood. I really value that. And I talk a lot about reinvesting in communities, and this is reinvesting in a very tangible way. Subsidized youth employment can do that and more. A well structured jobs program supports long term economic justice by allowing young people to invest in their community's success. Keeping the money in the neighborhood or community, helping that money revolve around has many positive impacts in those communities and neighborhoods. So my bill emphasizes the importance that local organizations play in connecting youth to employment opportunities offered through the program. And the grant component of the bill does just that. It invests in those local community based organizations. And if a bill like this were to be implemented, the focus needs to be on outreach to ensure small local businesses know that they can participate as well. This is the investment part of the bill for the participants, but also to organizations and community employers that can benefit from this bill. I had a job program like this one when I was growing up. I became a paralegal. I was approximately 21 years old, and I was working in my neighborhood, but I got a chance to be exposed to the entire city through my travel. I got to meet many other professionals. I was exposed to many people that I otherwise might not have been able to. And of course, that was a job through the Comprehensive Employment Training Act, a government initiative that provided a life-changing opportunity to me. It exposed me to a whole new world of professionals and other actors out there. It inspired me to continue my education, to get a college degree. But as I think about it, it was life transforming. And we want to create legal, arts, and cultural and business job opportunities in the towns and neighborhoods and cities that participants call home. And of course, some of those opportunities are certainly out there, but we've got to do like my title of my bill suggests, and that is connect youth to those jobs.
Addressing young people and also having small businesses be able to engage in this is incredibly important. And I appreciate that that was thought of and addressed. The average student now is a non-traditional student. For many low-income students of color and first-generation college students, working part-time or even full-time is necessary to make ends meet. How would this legislation support students and like their busy schedules?
Yeah, again, a great question. The wrap around services really come into play for those young people, especially with a busy schedule. It can go from difficult to impossible for many young people to crisscross the city for school and get a job to train or grab a ride share where when needed, or for young parents to afford good childcare during work hours. So wraparound services could make those logistical challenges a little less difficult. Also, the jobs offered through my bill would be paid a minimum of $15 an hour with the possibility of going even higher. And of course, we need to make sure that those opportunities we're offering pay living wages so that program participants can reasonably expect them to provide meaningful support. That's why this initiative is different from prior jobs programs.
That is absolutely appreciated. Uh, I know you talked a little bit about your work as a paralegal when you were younger. Was that your first summer job or internship, or what was your first summer job or internship?
Yeah, no, my first summer job occurred when I was probably between the ages of 13 and 14 years of age. It was a summer youth jobs program that really enabled me to understand the work world, to make a difference in my community. We did everything from clean up the neighborhood to organize sporting events for younger children. We did surveys in the community as well and really gained an understanding of how a neighborhood works, how a neighborhood needs to have vital things to make it healthy, to make it safe, to make people take pride in their community and to bring people together. So that first summer job was very memorable to me. It enabled me as a very shy person to get to know others, to work with others, to engage in teamwork, to approach people, to do public speaking, at least in small groupings, and to develop those types of social interaction skills in my own community, in the barrio. And of course, I remember receiving my first paycheck. I was just so thrilled to have a paycheck with my name on it, to go cash it with my mother at the local bank. I was beaming with pride. And of course, I got used to having a paycheck, wanting a paycheck, and of course, the opportunity to get even better paying jobs when I started high school and as I went on to pursue a college education. It was, again, a very enriching experience that I will never forget.
The Senate Judiciary Committee has said that $15 an hour should not be a part of any decisions or votes on their end. How do you plan to address that while also communicating that $15 an hour is important?
Well, in the House, we've passed legislation that would make $15 a base pay in terms of a national minimum wage for working people. And that includes, in my mind, young people. While a committee in the Senate may be articulating such a position, I think there is tremendous support among the American public for raising the minimum wage. People know what it takes to make ends meet, to provide with integrity and decency for a family, for workers to be compensated fairly, and to earn a living wage in our time. We have not raised the minimum wage in way, way too long. And advancing fair wages for all workers, including equal pay for women who have not earned equal pay in comparison to men, are values that have moved legislation from the House of Representatives to the Senate. It's time to usher in an era of equity. And by addressing the root economic conditions of people everywhere in our society, we can achieve that. So it is my hope that through negotiations of the final bills between the House and the Senate, we can ensure provisions like this that would help bring prosperity to all American workforce participants, all workers.
Thank you for that. And lastly, how can folks sign on and support this act?
Well, I would encourage young people to contact their member of Congress, your local congressman or woman, to support this legislation. And you can share the personal experiences that make it important to you, why the services for transportation, for buying a laptop, a cell phone, the need for childcare for those very young parents who need those types of support in order to be able to be successful in their job. There are many young people, who have endured very difficult times during the pandemic. They may need an access to a therapist, to mental health services. This isn't asking for, anything extravagant. These are things that young people need to be able to resume a sense of normalcy, to feel confident, to feel good, to have aspirations, to want to succeed in the work world. And it's going to be very important as well to get the word out as we debate bigger relief packages in Congress. Right now, we're talking about the American Jobs Bill, the American Family Plan. I believe that this bill would fit very, very neatly and strategically within the components of the president's job and American families initiatives as well. Youth employment must be included as a priority, not an afterthought in any larger legislation. So right now, calling your member of Congress, young people calling them, is very, very strategic and timely. It's also important to frame youth employment as a longer term guarantee, not as a temporary recovery measure. This should be a feature of opportunities that are available to many youth out there. This investment from our neighborhoods is a generations old problem. We need a holistic approach to police reform, healthcare, housing, environmental justice, and immigration to get to the root causes of unequal opportunity for our young people. And that's why this bill is an important part of how our country can move forward with greater equity and certainly opportunities for our young people. And I think it's an important principle of any approach in promoting economic justice through subsidized youth employment.
Thank you everyone for watching. That was Connecting Youth Jobs Act. You can support by contacting your congressperson and also just discussing, and hopefully everybody else will understand how important this is and how much this would be beneficial to the American Jobs Plan. And thank you so much for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Lena. You as well.